So I want to welcome everyone here. Everyone's come to glorify Yudhamanyu Seva Vikram in remembrance of his divine presence and his participation and the love which he gave to all the members of our community and feeling his separation. So I'm very fortunate to be able to be here because I consider, I can say that in one sense, through the mercy of Srila Bhaktisundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj, but also through the mercy of Yudhamanyu Seva Vikram, because we were living at myself and Ramaya and others, we were staying at Shrudashrava Prabhu's house and Sanatani's house with all their kids who are all here practically today. We were staying there, and I had come through San Jose, often going to India. So I was thinking that at that time, this was 1991, and I know that the devotees were having meetings in each other's houses and getting together for Vaishnava festivals, but also had some feeling that there should be, a revival of the community here, which had been started when the devotees were all going to 13th Street in San Jose. So, and Ramai also was staying there, and Ramai was eager to participate. He wanted to, of course, do the worship at the temple and everything. So we were in communication with Govinda Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, but Govinda Maharaj told us to wait, and then what he was waiting for, he was contacting Yudhamanyu Prabhu, who was in Thailand at the time. In Chiang Mai? And Srila Govinda Maharaj wanted Yudhamanyu to come here because he knew if he came, then we could successfully start the temple. Because how are you going to start a temple without any kind of central organization and be able to have collecting and everything like that? So Yudhamanyu agreed to come here, and then Govinda Maharaj gave his blessings for starting the temple. And at the same time, Govinda Maharaj sent different persons to participate in the group that Yudhamanyu was leading out of San Jose. And I'll mention them. And from what I understand, Govinda Maharaj even wrote this on, in Navadip on one of the plaques there. So it mentioned the persons in the collecting party, and there was, who were all the persons? There was Govinda Maharaj sent Lalita. He sent Bimala. Bimala had been, her father said if she went to India, she was disowned. She wasn't really disowned, but her father said that. So then Govinda Maharaj sent Bimala here. So we had now Lalita and Bimala. And then we went to Caracas, Venezuela, and Kalindi joined with a group there in Caracas. Your daughter Vaidehi? Yeah, well, of course she was like 5 years old. She was, you can say that. And we had also Sudevika, Brajamohini, Sudevika, Janaki, Who else? Sharmila came a little later, but she came also. Yeah. But I mean, this was many of these persons were sent by Srila Govinda Maharaj. Brajamohini and Sudevika kind of joined when we were in San Jose. They both kind of walked into the ashram and joined there. So anyway, Yudhamanyu led the group, and without that, how would we be able to have a temple? And then we got the place on 17th and Empire, which Govinda Maharaj liked very much. And when he came out there to visit us in 1992, then he also asked us to get an ashram. He said of at least 5 acres of land. I think he said in biggers, but it amounted to 5 acres of land. So then we were looking, and then we found this place and got this place. And again, Yudhamanyu was taking the responsibility for being able to help be able to finance this project here too, both San Jose and Soquel. And I remember when I was in San Jose, many times I'd have conversations with Yudhamanyu, and he's actually a very great Vaishnav. Sometimes we would wind up shouting at each other, often in the kitchen. Huh? Yeah, in the kitchen. But, it was, from that time on, I've had relationship with Yudhamanyu, working with him practically that whole time. And then after some time, he went to China. And when he went to China, he also asked me after a while. He actually, Yudhamanyu's been in China 13 years now. And nobody else can really, pretty much, few people could go there for a month or two, like Shugi went there for 2 months, I think, or 3 months, right? He was there. This is about the longest anyone else has been there, except the Chinese devotees, of course. But Yudhamanyu stayed all the time for 13 years. And he was in Chengdu. You have to understand something about Yudhamanyu. Everywhere he goes, everywhere, even he's by himself, he brings people to the mission. I was talking with Goswami Maharaj yesterday, and Goswami Maharaj was saying that, Yudhamanyu, he's the person who's always been, there in China. He's Govinda Maharaj's representative, and everybody practically in the Chinese yatra was brought through Yudhamanyu. Now and I said, not only China, but also when he was in South Africa, he brought many devotees to the mission. And Goswami Maharaj said, the people who started with us, he said, Goswami Maharaj said, first of all, Yudhamanyu and Jivana, they started the program in San Jose. And he said, persons from South Africa also came there from Yudhamanyu to run, like Ginsha Maharaj, and who was the person running the printing press? Kali Yuga Pavana.
Yeah.
And who else? There was Krishnangani. Oh, Krishnangani came from there. And he told me other persons.
Shamali?
Huh?
Shamali.
Shamali.
She came through Yuda.
Huh?
She also came through Yuda.
Okay.
Well, Mahayogi, he was from South Africa, actually. I mean, he had gone to South Africa with Yuda. He was there.
Okay, so anyway, there were about 4 or 5 persons in the San Jose temple participating there who came through Yudhamanyu. Then in China, he was first in Chengdu, and he met Dr. Su and his wife, Mrs. Hao. So, you know, Dr. Su is a very important person there in the Chengdu University. And he became very close friends with Yudhamanyu Prabhu. And Yudhamanyu made devotees there in Chengdu. Then after some time, then he went to another place. And was it also in Chengdu? Right?
Outside of Chengdu.
Outside of Chengdu. I think they told him that they were getting some word out that, you know, he'd been making a lot of devotees there in the university. So then they suggested that he, you know, go to another job, and he got another job because the government was, you know, getting some awareness. Then he got another job in Chengdu, and he worked there and also made devotees. And then his age, he got, I think they had an age limit in Chengdu of like 62 years. So after he passed that, he moved to Chongqing, where he got a job in Chongqing, and he was there. And of course, we have a lot of devotees also in Chongqing. And then recently, he got another job teaching in Guangzhou, which is near Hong Kong and Shenzhen, and he had a job teaching there. When he was first going there, he showed me they had a syllabus, and the syllabus sounded very official, and he was very nervous. You know, Yudhamanyu, sometimes he's nervous about things. He tends to, you know, I mean, he's not an egotistical person. He thinks he's very humble in his own estimation of himself, and he gets sometimes worried. So he read this very official sounding syllabus, and he told me, should I go there? Like, I've signed a contract and I don't know. And I said, these syllabus, they all write these kind of things. They're just to make them sound important. They don't mean anything. I said, you already taught English there, and you've already taught all these students here in Chongqing. They all learned English from you. They all speak English, you know, so they learned it from you. And the school, they gave you this very important syllabus, but he said, are these English majors? And he said, no, they're science majors. And I said, then all the more reason you can teach them the English, you know, because you're very qualified to teach them. So then I said, besides, all you have to do is go there, you'll make friends with all of them, and you'll give them good grades, and they'll be very happy. And he went there, and that's what happened. You know, so they were also very happy there, and he was making devotees there in Guangzhou. I don't know the names of them, but some of the persons. And so everywhere Yudhamanyu goes, you see that he attracts people, and not in a formal way. Not in a formal way. All these people have, you know, very, very deep affection for Yudhamanyu. You know, in China, they may not know so much, you know, deep intricacies of all the scriptures, because for one thing, they don't even hardly have scriptures in their language. They have, you know, Bhagavad Gita in Chinese, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and one girl who's in Chiang Mai, she translated search for Sri Krishna. And I said, who translated that? And what did they say? Sulu. They said, Sulu. Sulu. Her name is Sulakshana. Anyway, yeah, they shortened it to Sula. Sula is her, they call her Sula, but it's Sulakshana. Yeah, so they have these, but Yudhamanyu told to, he told the Govinda Maharaj, he said, well, I don't know if Srila Govinda Maharaj is, he says, maybe we're not, their training is not so strict. And Srila Govinda Maharaj stopped him and told him, please, do never use the word Chinese and strict in the same sentence. He told him, they're chanting Hare Krishna, and he told him there's no need to emphasize all rules and regulations, just that they will, follow Vaishnava principles, not eat cow flesh, and chant Hare Krishna. And they are doing that for many, many years. And they're all very much, as I said, very attached to Yudhamanyu. And Yudhamanyu asked me to go there and initiate there. And I, at first, when he told me, I was very, I was hesitant because, I was thinking that, what can I do in China if I go there? You can't go into China into wearing sannyas beige or anything like that. And I was thinking, but Yudhamanyu insisted, so I said, sure, I'll do that. And then Ramachandra's father, Daitya Krishna, he bought me some, what we used to call in ISKCON, we used to call them Karmi clothes. He bought me some.
So you went suited and booted.
Yeah, when Prabhupada asked Govinda Maharaj he would take him to the West, he said, I will take you suited and booted. Well, I didn't have any boots, but anyway. Yeah, but then I would go to China, and I'd be there with Yudhamanyu. And like as before, sometimes Yudhamanyu, if I'd say something and I didn't consult with him, sometimes he'd correct me, and he'd say, one of his expressions, he'd say, what am I, a potted plant? That's one of his expressions. What else did he say? Some other expressions like that, because sometimes we were supposed to have a program at 1:30, but everybody came at 12:15. So I said, okay, well, we can just have the program now, but Yudhamanyu's sitting next to me, but I didn't ask him, so he that's when he says things like that. What am I, a potted plant? You don't even tell me what's going on. But all the time I've worked with him, and it's always been very wonderful, and then last bunch of years he'd say, you'll come here. He says, I may not be. He told me, I may not be here. So I said, what are you, more or less I said, politely, but I said, what are you, crazy? You're not going to be here and I'm going to come here? But he'd say that. There may come a time when, when I may not be here. That's what he said. So now is that time, And I'm going to China and, I'm try to give some nourishment to all the devotees there. Because, every one of them, they look to Yudhamanyu like their father. Their relationship with him is, he is really, you could say he's the guru of China. Everyone there is his disciple, is really what it amounts to, But they also have developed some relationship with me. He brought me there, and they, over time, I've gotten to know all of them. So it's been very nice, because all these girls are also like my daughter, I'm going there. And when you go there, they're all basically, between the age of 19 and 25. Now some are older because they've been there some time, like Sita, like Urmila, and
Suravi.
Surabi, and Ananda visited here. Okay. So anyway, it is, what can you say? Yudhamanyu is like, he's integrally related with this community. He has been here since the beginning of our community. This community, he started this community. And this community wouldn't have started without his presence. So, I will always offer my dandavat at his lotus feet, because I consider he is an exalted Vaishnava. And he was given the name Seva Vikram by Srila Sridhar Maharaj because of his service. So many of the projects in India, they were all developed through Yudhamanyu's participation. Hapania, so many of the projects. What are some of the projects begun there?
The Centennial Building. I think the Centennial Building.
Centennial Building. All the programs there in Navadip itself, the development of the buildings, Centennial Building, Govindakun, all of these things. He helped with all the projects there. But, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj saw Yudhamanyu as his own personal collector for, just like also Govinda Maharaj, he sees Divya Shakti as his personal collector, and she would collect for him. And Yudhamanyu was personally collecting for both Guru Maharaj and Govinda Maharaj. And, Yudhamanyu is he's a very generous person. And Govinda Maharaj said he never asked many questions. He said he only asked one question. He said the question that Yudhamanyu would ask is, do you want this? If Govinda Maharaj or Guru Maharaj wanted it, then he would provide that. But he didn't ask many questions. He didn't bother Guru Maharaj or Govinda Maharaj with many questions. That doesn't mean he's not very deeply philosophical. When I came in 1987, I was given stacks of notes written out in longhand that Yudhamanyu had taken notes of Guru Maharaj's lectures and everything. So, but this name Seva Vikram, that refers to his, exalted service that he's always offered. So to be able to be so much appreciated. And also, Dikshavati here, she knows Yudhamanyu for so long, since the time of Los Angeles, right? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, and always you were with him and collecting and everything. Sanatani also, right? And of course Jivana, and so many persons. So I have a long list I've already spoken long enough. All I can do is say, I can usually say something, but I'm kind of like at a loss to properly glorify Yudhamanyu, because he's a much bigger person than you can see with your eyes.